Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States.
That is why I am running for President of the United States.
And we are going to make our country great again. And we also need a cheerleader.
Now you see, this little bird doesn't know it. Oh.
Please clap.
I'm Sherilyn Lavery. Tonight we'll be taking you through the results of the US presidential election, live from our studio here in Birmingham. Our team of journalists are working in our newsroom, live blogging the events as they unfold, and will be joining me to discuss a wide range of subjects when we get started. Let's take a quick look at the latest news with Christopher Mace.
Hello there and welcome to the first of our news bulletins for tonight, coming to you hourly, on the hour, every hour. Tonight we'll be taking a good look at Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton pretty much all the way, just as they appear here to be taking a look at us, and well they might, as the polls have opened now in every US state. As Donald Trump turned up to vote in New York, he was booed by crowds in a state which is heavily for Hillary Clinton. There was a controversial moment as Trump appeared to eye his wife Melania's voting slip. This could potentially be quite controversial. We might hear about that a little bit later on. The first result came in at midnight last night in Dixville Notch, a tiny, tiny little town of 12 people in New Hampshire. They went for a Hillary win. The poll that predicted the Brexit vote correctly has predicted a Trump victory in this election. It's one of the only polls that is conclusively saying this at the moment. And as I said, it was the only poll that predicted a Brexit the whole way through. If we look at the poll, if we look over in Florida at the moment, this is our first poll really that's come for anger at government voters. We can see here that Florida is so far the angriest state. And all three of these swing states here have shown discontent with current leadership, which could be positive for Trump. Donald Trump retired to Trump Tower in Manhattan with friends and family to await the result, where he's throwing a party. In Hillary's HQ in this big glass block, crowds have started to come in and there's entertainment being laid on throughout the night. To keep yourself up to date tonight through the election, if you're not able to watch a live stream, you can keep up to date with us on Twitter at Birmingham Eastside or with the hashtag USVotes16. Where you can access a poll to decide who you think should win this presidential election. Just a couple of little fun bits before we leave you and see you again at midnight. Firstly, this man who was mistaken in Los Angeles for Bernie Sanders, not once, but then for Larry David. And this advert from Jordanian Air, from Royal Jordanian. Just in case he wins, travel to the US while you're still allowed to. More from me at midnight.
Thank you, Chris. Now, Clinton's 30 years in public life have seen her serve as First Lady of Arkansas, First Lady of the US, Senator for New York and Secretary of State. She's now in the final stages of the race for the top job. Manastoru has been looking at her journey.
I'm running for president.
Hillary Clinton was born in Chicago on 26 October 1947. As a young student, Hillary was involved in various activities. After graduation, Hillary enrolled in Yale Law School, where she developed strong concern for protecting the interests of children and families, and met Bill Clinton. Hillary married Bill Clinton in 1975. During the 12 years that she was served as the First Lady of Arkansas, Hillary found Arkansas Advocate for Children and Families and Arkansas's Home Instruction Program for school youth. She worked on behalf of children and families while practicing law in Little Rock. She was named Arkansas Woman of the Year in 1984. Taking office in 1993, President Clinton made healthcare reform one of the highest priorities of his administration and asked the First Lady to chair the task force on national health care quality. She raised awareness of the impact of tobacco on children. The First Lady also worked tirelessly to reform our nation's foster care system and promote adoption.
I hope to unify our country. I hope to bring people together. I hope to break down every barrier that prevents Americans from joining hands and making our country everything it should be.
She served as a United States Senator from New York from 2001 to 2009 by winning the United States Senator elections in 2000 and 2006. She resigned in 2009 to become Secretary of State for Obama's administration.
She's got this wonderful, infectious laugh that it carries quite far. And sometimes it'll be surprising because you'll be in the middle of something and she'll go, ha! And there's a joy and a mirth that I think sometimes the public doesn't always see.
I am going to stand up and fight for every American because I think if you are the president, that's exactly what you should do every day.
April 2015, Clinton released a YouTube video formally announcing her candidacy. On July 26, 2016, Clinton was officially nominated at 2016 Democratic National Convention.
I admire and respect Hillary. She has been a lawyer, a law professor, First Lady of Arkansas, First Lady of the United States, a U.S. Senator, Secretary of State. She is absolutely ready to be Commander-in-Chief on day one, and yes, she happens to be a woman.
Hillary Clinton will be the first female president of United States of America if she gets elected.
Everyday Americans need a champion, and I want to be that champion. So you can do more than just get by. You can get ahead and stay ahead, because when families are strong, America is strong. So I'm hitting the road to earn your vote, because it's your time, and I hope you'll join me on this journey.
Manas joins me in the studio now. So what activities does Hillary Clinton get involved with children, women?
The fourth Women Conference, which happened in Beijing in 1995, Hillary Clinton woke up the world. She went on to say that women's rights are human rights and human rights are women's rights once and for all. Saying that in 1995 was a big deal by some politician leader. Later on, she has worked together with Democratic and Republican and come together with a plan which serves 8 million of American children with medical insurance till date. She has also found out Arkansas Advocate for Children and Families, which has helped a lot over there. She was also named as Woman of the Year of Arkansas for various activities towards children and families.
And how did she react to the 9/11 attack?
During 9/11 attack, she was a US senator. That time, when she saw the White House fund had not a single penny for New York, she went to Washington to talk to President Bush. That time, she went and appealed to President Bush that she wants $20 million for recovering the losses of people, and she also tried to rebuild the life of people who faced various losses.
And can you tell me more about her as a presidential candidate?
Well, I think she has been the First Lady of Arkansas, First Lady of United States Senator, US Senator, US Secretary. She has been a law professor. I think she's qualified to be the president. She know what job she has to do once she becomes the president. She can be commander-in-chief from the day one itself once she becomes the president.
Thank you, Manas. Trump is the other main presidential candidate. From the televised debates, he's proven that he isn't afraid to speak his mind. But how much do we really know about him? Our reporter, Sana Mahmood, has more.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
Donald John Trump was born in 1946 in New York to Frederick Trump and Mary MacLeod Trump. His father was a real estate developer and sent Trump to the New York Military Academy at age 13. It was fair to say Trump did well both academically and athletically and went on to become a star athlete and student leader by the time he graduated in 1964. He later then graduated with a degree in economics from the University of Pennsylvania in 1968. Trump followed his father into the real estate development career, and whilst he was a student, he worked with his father during the summer and then he managed to join the company. In 1971, Trump was given control of the company, which he later renamed the Trump Organization. He then became involved in large building projects such as the development of properties from the Penn Central Railroad Company. But even for Trump, things were not always as promising as they seemed, as in 1973, the federal government filed a complaint against Trump, his father, and their company. This was recently reported by the CNN.
The Department of Justice accused the Trumps of violating the Fair Housing Act, arguing they were turning away renters based on race and color.
2 years later, in 1975, Trump and his father settled the case, agreeing not to discriminate against anyone.
But Trump soon got back on his feet, and by 1977 he married Ivana Zenikova, whom he went on to have 3 children with. Not long ago, Trump became heavily involved in New York's political realm and then later developed the Plaza Hotel, which was a huge success. Since then, he has ventured into so many different business opportunities, with some being movies, games, alcohol, mortgaging, beauty pageants, and even casinos. He was making money like never before, but Trump soon hit a dead end with the Trump Taj Mahal Casino in the early 90s, as it crashed into bankruptcy, costing bankers and backers hundreds of millions. This destroyed him financially, and not long after that, Trump had an affair with Marla Maples, which led to Trump and Ivana's divorce. Marla and Trump got married not soon after and went on to have Trump's 4th child. However, problems arose and the couple got divorced in 1999. But Trump rebuilt, and by late 1999, he managed to get his net worth up to $2 billion, and within the same year, his father passed away and left him with about $300 million. He made his name and image bigger and better than ever before. Companies were paying just to have his name associated with theirs. He then got married again to his 3rd and current wife, Melania Knauss, and from the year 2001 to 2009, Trump started supporting Democrats and was in the public eye more than ever, especially over his opinions on Barack Obama and his policies. As of today, Donald Trump is running for president with the idea of making America great again, and is said to be the richest person to run for president so far.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Sana is with me here in the studio. Do you think that Donald Trump will be good for the economy in America?
Well, you could argue that he will be, because over the years he has proved to be quite successful. I mean, he's known as a billionaire real estate mogul, and that has to be for a reason. But at the same time, he has been known to go bankrupt at least 4 times, so he could be potentially disastrous for the economy.
Of course. And he is sort of spoken about actually wanting to close the borders to Mexicans by building a wall. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, yes, again, I think the issue is with immigration, and immigration is an enormous source of economic vitality. So again, it will damage the economy, and at the same time it will cost the federal government a huge amount of money just to enforce some of the laws that Trump has suggested.
Do you think that if he does become the president, it could have an impact on us here in Birmingham?
Well, yes, because he wants to rip up trade deals, and with us already leaving the EU, we need those trade deals, and also the financial market here could crash, and we could go into global recession.
Thank you, Sana. Now, a lot of people have said that the result of this election is too close to call, so it's no surprise that the main coverage has been on Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. But what about the vice presidential candidates, Tim Kaine and Mike Pence? Who are they, and what are their duties?
The Vice President of the United States is the second highest position in the executive branch. The Constitution limits the formal powers and role of Vice President to becoming President when the President dies or becomes unable to serve and to acting as a presiding officer of the United States Senate. He or she may serve as a surrogate while the President is traveling abroad. The Vice President may receive foreign dignitaries and host state dinners. Some Vice Presidents have taken on more active roles than others. Besides the president candidates, the whole campaign, we are watching their running mates, who strongly support for either Clinton or Trump. In 2016, Hillary Clinton chose Tim Kaine as her vice presidential running mate. Tim Kaine, born in Minnesota in 1958. He served as a governor of Virginia from 2006 to 2010 and is currently a member of the USA Senate.
Who I don't trust? I wonder. Donald Trump! Donald Trump.
Tim Kaine entered politics in 1994 when he was elected to the Richmond City Council. Kaine was a mayor, a governor, and a senator, and according to his office website, he's only one of 20 people in the United States history to have held all three offices. Kaine's first big moment on the national stage was his Democratic response to George W. Bush's 2006 State of the Union address. He showed his support for immigration reform when in 2013 he delivered a speech entirely in Spanish on the Senate floor for the first time in the United States history.
Inmigrantes contribuyen una gran riqueza a nuestro estado.
Please join me in welcoming the next Vice President, my friend, Senator Tim Kaine.
In the months since being named Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump's running mate, Indiana Governor Mike Pence, has proven to be a loyal supporter to the billionaire. Mike Pence, born in Indiana in 1959, has served as a governor of Indiana since 2013, but also has 12 years of experience as a member of the United States House of Representatives.
Here and now that Hillary Clinton will never become President of the United States of America.
Mike Pence was already well known and respected in Republican circles when he was elected governor of Indiana in 2012. After losing two congressional seats in 1988 and 1990, he became a conservative radio and television talk show host.
This is Mike Pence.
Pence successfully ran for Congress in 2000 and represented Indiana's 2nd and 6th congressional district in the United States House of Representatives from 2001 to 2013. He supported a number of legislative efforts to ban same-sex marriage in his native Indiana and signed into law several limiting regulations on women's access to abortion service.
I know we will elect Donald Trump to be the 45th President of the United States of America.
His biggest disagreement with his running mate is on immigration. He described Trump's proposed ban on Muslims entering America as offensive and unconstitutional.
The next Vice President of the United States, Governor Mike Pence. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
These two candidates were face-to-face debate in the beginning of October. It was a tense debate with frequent interruption. They talked about the taxes, social issues, immigration policy, problems in Syria and relation between the United States and Russia.
Donald Trump during this campaign has called Mexicans rapists and criminals. He's called women slobs, pigs, dogs, disgusting. Immigration. There's two plans on the table. Hillary and I believe in comprehensive immigration reform. Donald Trump believes in deportation nation. You got to pick your choice.
Well, I think Donald Trump laid out a series of priorities that doesn't end with border security. It begins with border security. And after we secure the border, not only build a wall, but beneath the ground and in the air, we do internal enforcement. But he said the focus has to be on criminal aliens. Donald Trump has said we're going to move those people out, people who've overstayed their visas. We're going to enforce the law of this country.
Vice President candidates spoke about situation in Syria. They think that the United States should protect the citizens and children in Aleppo.
I truly do believe that what America ought to do right now is to immediately establish safe zones so that families and vulnerable families with children can move out of those areas, work with our Arab partners real time, right now, to make that happen.
Hillary and I also agree that the establishment of a humanitarian zone in northern Syria, with the provision of international human aid consistent with the UN Security Council resolution that was passed in February 2014, would be a very, very good idea. And Hillary also has the ability to stand up to Russia in a way that this ticket does not.
Mike Pence attacked Russia, which has become a major ally of Bashar al-Assad. Kane claims that there's an old proverb which says that Russian beer never dies, it just hibernates.
Hillary Clinton has gone toe-to-toe with Russia. She went toe-to-toe with Russia as Secretary of State to do the New START agreement to reduce Russia's nuclear stockpile. She's had the experience doing it. She went toe-to-toe with Russia and lodged protests when they went into Georgia. And we've done the same thing about Ukraine, but more than lodging protests, we've put punishing economic sanctions on Russia that we need to continue.
Let me say this whole Putin thing. Look, America is stronger than Russia. Our economy is 16 times larger than the Russian economy. America's political system is superior to the crony, corrupt capitalist system in Russia in every way.
And now, today, we are going to see who will win the president election in the United States and who will sit in the vice president chair.
Now that we've heard about the candidates, let's turn our attention to the voting system. Now, most of the European countries elect their president directly along with the popular vote. The US, though, used a system called the Electoral College. Our reporter, Dominika Saskova, explains.
Autumn is in full bloom, and this particular season marks the transition from summer into winter. While the season may be temporary, it's important because it brings significant changes to the environment around us. The weather is colder, the trees are changing colors, and the leaves are shedding. Change is present here as well as overseas. Only in the United States, the change next week will be more significant. US presidential elections are taking place on November 8th, and people there will be selecting their brand new head of state. This change impacts all of us. While most of us understand the presidential election as a choice of people, in the United States, the system is more complex. Traditionally, the US uses a system of electoral college.
Electoral college is a unique feature of the American system, and it comes out of the history of the early American Republic. Because every state wanted to make sure it was fully represented when a president was chosen, the president wasn't directly selected by the American people. So in other words, the man or woman who got the most votes wouldn't necessarily be the winner. Instead, what the creators of the early American Republic decided is that the people would vote for delegates, what we call electors, and that the number of these electors would be tied to the population of each state.
Currently, there are 538 electors across the United States. On the election day, people technically cast a vote to them. Electors then cast a vote for president after the elections. In practice, this means that people are still voting, but the final decision doesn't depend on just them. Even though there are more candidates to choose from, for most people the choice is narrowed down to just two-way path: Democrat or a Republican. Either Mr. Trump or Mrs. Clinton would therefore have to get at least 270 electoral votes to become a president. In the forest, a squirrel is busy scoring nuts from every tree. Just like Mr. Trump and Mrs. Clinton fought for votes in every state. Historically, some of the states are already Democratic, while others are mostly Republican. The states that can decide on the president are therefore states which are neither one of them.
Often it's not the bigger states that make the difference, but the swing states can be the smallest states, such as a New Hampshire or an Alaska, even in the case of this year's election.
So what are these year's predictions? The final battle may end up being a tough one.
If she loses those first two blocks of states and she loses Nevada, it is now down to Colorado and New Hampshire. that's how close this election, I think, is probably going to shape up on November the 8th.
Dominika Suskova, Birmingham East Side.
If you've heard or seen any coverage of the presidential elections up until now, you've probably heard of the term swing state. So what are swing states? And why are they so crucial to the outcome of an American election? Christopher Mace is the man in the know.
The term swing state refers to a state in which both major parties have similar levels of support. They are the states that are the most likely to be persuaded by events in the run-up to the election, such as the TV debates. It generally follows that the winning party is the one that takes the most swing states. Winning over the support of people from these states is then hugely important. 11 states are currently called swing states. They are Nevada, Colorado, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New Hampshire. One thing to be aware of is that swing states have changed over time. At times in the past, Indiana, Texas, Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey have all been considered swing states. They're all very safe seats today. Most US states use a winner-takes-all electoral system, where the candidate who wins the popular vote wins all of the state votes. Because it won't give them any electoral votes, parties may decide to allocate less funding in particular states where they cannot win. In effect, they hardly contest them. For example, it's unlikely that you'll see a major effort by the Democrats in Texas or by the Republicans in Minnesota, as these states always vote the same way. This leaves an enormous amount of funding that can be pumped into winning the marginal states. Most of the swing states are expected to remain loyal to their 2012 election outcome. There are, however, a few exceptions. Democrat-held Ohio, Florida and Iowa are likely to vote for Trump, while Republican North Carolina will probably be voting for Hillary Clinton. There could yet be an upset in Florida, as Trump leads in the polls by just 0.4%. The Democrat candidate is ahead in the polls by around 10 points in both Michigan and Virginia. Just how crucial will the swing states be? Just because the swing states are often the most likely to change and are fiercely contested, nothing's to say they will decide this election. Donald Trump is an unorthodox candidate, to say the least, and his support comes from large groups that don't necessarily hold traditional Republican values. The polls have swelled and fallen for both sides almost as often as they have criticised each other on personal issues. Hillary Clinton remains the clear favourite in the swing states, but Donald Trump's unpredictable popularity levels mean that the voting outcome for many states is highly unpredictable. Don't count the Donald out just yet.
James Dale joins me here in the studio. So, what does Donald Trump have to do with this election?
Well, to win it, first and foremost, there are key states that he needs to hold. And at the heart of that, there's Georgia, Arizona and Utah. Georgia, Arizona and Utah are traditionally Republican strongholds, but there have been problems. His polling record has dropped in Georgia, but we're expecting him to hold that relatively comfortably. With Arizona, there's a problem. The senator there is John McCain. He's a Republican senator, but Donald Trump has had very public spats with Mr. McCain and called into question his military service historically. As such, the general public have not warmed to this, and McCain is very, very popular in Arizona, so there is a worry that Trump has lost key votes as a result of that. Utah is an interesting one. There is an independent candidate by the name of Evan McMillan, and he is a former CIA operative, he's a Mormon, and he represents the conservative vote. Now, what's interesting about that is that Republicans traditionally hold the conservative vote, but with Trump's outlandish behaviour, shall we say, the accusations of sexual assault and such, means that that traditional conservative vote has moved from the traditional Republican candidate to this independent. So there is work to do, and it's vital that he holds all three.
Our reporter Christopher Mace spoke about the importance of swing states. How will this affect the results?
Well, ultimately, this is where the election is won and lost. There are key swing states, for example, New Hampshire, Virginia, North Carolina. And these states are split between the two candidates and could potentially go either way. In total, these smaller swing states, you're looking at about 7 or 8, and Donald Trump, if he's to stand any chance, must win the vast majority of those.
What are the states we should look out for?
Well, the two big ones are Ohio and Florida. Traditionally, these are the barometers of American politics. So they tend to predict, or vote for, the eventual winner in elections and have done on numerous occasions in recent history. Florida has had all kinds of issues previously. Back in 2000, there was a disputed vote that went on for several weeks, and there were various lawsuits, but ultimately it led to George W. Bush becoming President of the United States. Ohio's part of the Rust Belt, and that's got an awful lot of traction with the media. Ohio economically is in a very, very bad way, and the inhabitants are not happy. They see Hillary Clinton as a continuation of the status quo, and as such a continuation of very, very difficult lives for themselves. So we are expecting Ohio to go to the Republican vote. As we kind of previously mentioned, if Donald Trump is to be the next president of the United States, he will have to take Ohio, have to take Florida, and then jump through the hoops that we just discussed with the other smaller swing states.
Of course. Thank you. Now, hundreds of organisations across the world spend endless time and resources trying to predict who will win an election. The efforts that pollsters make to determine an outcome are quite high. But we have seen that they can get things wrong. No fear though. Christopher Mace is back to show us a few alternative ways to work out who is going to win.
Odd coincidence number 1, the Redskins rule. The Washington Redskins American football team has correctly predicted the outcome of every US presidential election since 1940. It sounds ridiculous, I know, but bear with me, because it's actually quite amazing. If the Redskins win their final home game before election night, the party that's currently in power wins the popular vote. If they lose, the opposition party wins the popular vote. It's a principle that's held true for the last 19 elections. The rule doesn't even correlate with how good the team are. The 1976 Redskins lost just 2 games at home all year, but one of those losses was right before Election Day. The Republican incumbent lost, and the Democrats took the presidency. 2 weeks ago, the Redskins played their last home game before the 2016 presidential election. They won. If the Redskins rule is to continue, Hillary Clinton will be the next president of the United States. Coincidence number 2. Which side sells the most Halloween masks? Every presidential election since 1980 could have been predicted by the sales of Halloween masks. That's according to a study by CNN Money. Quite simply, he or she whose mask sells the most always becomes president. All bets are off here because the company that compiles the data have not released sales figures for this year. I have a sneaking suspicion that Trump may come out on top there. Our third prediction phenomenon is the kids' vote. In the build-up to an election, many school children in America take part in a mini-vote called the Scholastic News Election Poll. It sounds like just a bit of fun. In fact, the kids have predicted 15 out of the 17 previous elections, including every election result since 1964. It's a record that stretched all the way back to the 1940s. The kids' election poll results are released in the weeks leading up to the election, meaning that the millions of pounds that are spent on polling nationwide could be saved. They could quite literally just ask the kids. Who did they pick this time? I hear you ask. They voted for Hillary by a landslide margin of 20%. Our final alternative prediction method is quite simply looking at the vote in a place called Vigo County, Indiana. This area of just 400 square miles holds a unique place in recent US election history. It is the county that best represents the average American voter. NPR has labelled Vigo County a microcosm that reflects the electorate as a whole. The area has voted for the eventual winner of every US election since 1956, and all except 2 since 1892. It really does beg the question, why are experts wasting their time with polls and predictions when they really should be asking everybody in Vigo County? So there we have it. If our ridiculous prediction methods ring true tonight, we will be waking up to a Hillary Clinton presidency.
Now, James is still joining me here in the studio. Like the election itself, the media coverage in America has been quite unconventional, don't you think?
Well, yes, it has. The balance of coverage has been called into question. I spoke to an American broadcaster by the name of Mike Carlson earlier in the week, and he was very, very critical. He explained that the idea that 2 events or actions that are not comparable are often given the same coverage or the same implied significance by media outlets. It's what he calls a kind of false equivalency. So he stated the fact that the Hillary email story was in no way equivalent to the dozens of corruption stories behind Donald Trump, and yet they were played off against each other in an equal fashion. And ultimately that has an impact on people's perceptions when they come to vote.
And do you think it's to anybody's advantage?
Well, ultimately, it's proven to be, yes. I mean, the fact that Donald Trump has relentlessly called Hillary Clinton Crooked Hillary in every tweet, in every interview, in every opportunity he gets that soundbite, Crooked Hillary in. And without that balance to explain exactly what Crooked Hillary is, or whether indeed it is justified, bearing in mind that the email story in question, she's been absolved of any legal wrongdoing. So it gives the idea that Hillary Clinton is in some way on a par with Donald Trump, or in certain cases worse. So we now have a situation by which a lot of the electorate think that Hillary Clinton is in fact a criminal and should be in prison. And, well, Carson himself said it was mind-boggling. So there has been a clear advantage as a result of this sort of coverage in favour of Donald Trump.
And do you feel that that is a good thing or not?
Well, no, because it's not exclusive to America. I mean, we've seen it with Brexit as well. So you will have somebody interviewing 9 or 10 different experts, as it were, talking about facts and figures and possibilities. And yet news outlets will then give the same amount of time, the same amount of coverage to people who aren't necessarily keen to show expertise. In fact, famously, Michael Gove said the people have had enough of experts. So the coverage in the media these days is, I wouldn't want to say necessarily screwed, but we've seen, or skewed in a way, we have seen both in Britain and in America that it can have quite an impact on the way people perceive things to be.
And we are actually going to take a look at the debates. Our reporter, Noria, has been looking into this.
The presidential debates between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump have been one of the toughest confrontations between two nominees in the history of the United States. The first one was watched for over 80 million people, and it didn't disappoint.
So I know how to really work to get new jobs and to get exports that help to create more new jobs.
Well, you haven't done it in 30 years or 26 years.
Well, I wrote about that in...
You called it the gold standard.
I hope...
You called it the gold standard of trade deals. You said it's the finest deal you've ever seen.
No.
And then you heard what I said about it, and all of a sudden you were against it.
Well, Donald, I know you live in your own reality.
You have so many different things you have to be able to do, and I don't believe that Hillary has the stamina.
Let's let her respond.
Well, as soon as he travels to 112 countries and negotiates a peace deal, a ceasefire, a release of dissidents, an opening of new opportunities in nations around the world, or even spends 11 hours testifying in front of a congressional committee, he can talk to me about stamina.
Here, topics like America's direction, economics, and national security were dismissed by a cross of accusation between the Democrat and the Republican candidate. And the situation, it was just about to get worse for both in the second debate.
The tape that was released on Friday, as you can imagine, you called what you said locker room banter. You described kissing women without consent, grabbing their genitals. That is sexual assault. You bragged that you have sexually assaulted women. Do you understand that?
No, I didn't say that at all. I don't think you understood what was said. This was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it. I apologize to my family. I apologize to the American people. But I have tremendous respect for women.
Have you ever done those things?
Women have respect for me. And I will tell you, no, I have not.
And I take responsibility for using a personal email account. Obviously, if I were to do it over again, I would not. I'm not making any excuses. It was a mistake, and I am very sorry about that. But I think it's also important to point out where there are some misleading accusations from critics and others. After a year-long investigation, there is no evidence that anyone hacked the server I was using.
I will say this about Hillary. She doesn't quit. She doesn't give up. I respect that. I tell it like it is. She's a fighter. I disagree with much of what she's fighting for. I do disagree with her judgment in many cases. But she does fight hard, and she doesn't quit, and she doesn't give up, and I consider that to be a very good trait.
The recent accusation of sexual abuses of Donald Trump and the email scandal of Hillary Clinton marking the rhythm of the evening as hard as the first one. Let's for the surprises word of respect from Donald Trump to Hillary, just before to the last head-to-head.
You want to build a wall, Secretary Clinton. You have offered no specific plan for how you want to secure our southern border.
I want to build the wall. We need the wall. The Border Patrol, ICE, they all want the wall. We stop the drugs. We shore up the border. One of my first acts will be to get all of the drug lords, all of the bad ones. We have some bad, bad people. I don't know Putin. He said nice things about me. If we got along well, that would be good. If Russia and the United States got along well and went after ISIS, that would be good. Putin, from everything I see, has no respect for this person.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
It's pretty.
Not saying that you're necessarily going to be the loser or the winner, but that the loser concedes to the winner and that the country comes together in part for the good of the country. Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
Well,
okay?
Chris.
Now, John Podesta said you have terrible instincts. Bernie Sanders said you have bad judgment. I agree with both.
You are the most dangerous person to run for president in the modern history of America.
This last debate closed with the same tone of the entire electoral campaign, with a Donald Trump slightly more confident and a firm and witty Hillary Clinton. But have these debates really helped to make the difference between Trump and Clinton? Did their speeches make any changes in opinions of Americans? We've asked to some of their voters in Birmingham to know their impressions.
The debates were so explosive and everybody was really excited for the first one. And after the first one happened, then people kind of got sick of it. I think a lot of people are just want the election to be over. Felt a little bit more comfortable with Hillary. I liked her presentation and I liked what she stood for, and she incorporated a lot of the things that Bernie Sanders supporters, fought for.
First, when the debate started, we already know the image of the two parts, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. It was exciting to see how they will support their opinions, but at the same time, when you know two people, you can change your mind if they're just tell you two things, because they were both telling the same things on the debate.
So this year's debates was a little bit odd because there's so much hype about the candidates, with Trump not really having any political background and Hillary being a woman. So watching the debates, I went in knowing that I was going to vote for Hillary, but it really just more solidified my ideas that I had. I came out of the debates knowing even more that Hillary was the person that I really wanted to be president.
After the debates, most of the polls in USA, and apparently also voters in Birmingham, gave the victory to the Democrat Hillary Clinton. But still, there are some experts that foresee a turn of these predictions. Now the cast is over, so I just can end wishing good luck to both nominees and let the best wins.
Nuria Raquelme joins me here in the studio. Can you tell me what were the most used words during the debates?
Well, both of the nominees repeat a lot the word people. They were so focused on people. But then Donald Trump, he was also so focused on America, so focused in our people and so focused in our country. On the other hand, Hillary mentioned more women, and she was all the time like, I think.
Do you think these debates have helped to improve the way the candidates appear to the public?
Well, I think that Hillary Clinton did a really good performance during the debates. She was so secure, she knew what she was doing, and she was able to bear every attack from Trump. But then we saw a really big lack of confidence and also to experiencing this kind of debates head-to-head from Trump. So I think that actually Clinton was the one that improved her image above all, about all the electors that wanted that the other nominee from the Democrats we won. Yeah.
What do you think was the most remarkable moment from this campaign?
Well, there have been many remarkable moments during this campaign, but actually after the second and the third debate, when Trump was all the time repeating all the respect that he has for women, that nobody respects women more about him. I thought that it was really shocking because we all know what he did to women, we all know what he said to women, and I thought that it was really impressive that he also mentioned this, yeah.
Of course. Well, thank you so much, Nuria. Now, never in political history have both presidential candidates elicited such public disapproval. Both Trump and Clinton have been scrutinised by the media and villainised by each other. Shalini Ray finds out how we got to this point and what has changed over the years. But I need to say it, don't I? Now, apologies about that. There does seem to be a slight technical hitch there with the sound, and we all know, don't we, of course, that can happen with any live broadcasts. What we will do, though, is we will let you know a bit more, actually, about what Tariq has been looking into. We know a lot about our two main candidates, but what about their parties? He's taken a look at the Democratic and Republican parties, and in particular, the significance of their logos.
Eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
And I will try with best I can with everything I've got.
The 1828 presidential election between Republican, not to be confused with the modern Republican Party which was formed a few decades later, John Quincy Adams and Democrat Andrew Jackson is still considered one of the dirtiest campaigns ever run in American politics. Jackson and his supporters called Adams corrupt, spoiled, and a libertine, someone who lacked moral restraint, usually in reference to sexual matters. They called Jackson a jackass, comparing him to a stubborn, dumb donkey. Jackson was famously known as a populist, and his slogan, "Let the people rule," reinforced this. Republicans claim that if the people rule, it would be a bunch of jackasses ruling the country. But Jackson decided to use the image of the strong-willed animal on his campaign posters. Later, cartoonist Thomas Nast used the Democrat donkey in newspapers' cartoons and made the symbol famous. This cartoonist Nast actually invented Republicans' famous symbol, the Republican elephant, too. In a cartoon that appeared in Harper's Weekly in 1874, Nast drew a donkey clothed in lion's skin, scaring away all the animals at the zoo. One of those animals, the elephant, was labeled the Republican vote. That's all it took for the elephant to become associated with the Republican Party. We have Professor Scott Lucas saying about the emblems.
I'll just give you the honest answer and so on, and you can double check me with it and so on. You know, I've grown up with the donkey and the elephant, growing up as a boy in the American South, and nobody really asked what it stands for. The donkey was always a symbol, basically, of the common man, you know, the honest agricultural person working off the labor of the land. So it's the Democrats trying to make that appeal to that. But we don't have any elephants in America. So whether it stood for the fact that, you know, we always say the elephant is wise in America and that for some reason this was picked up, or whether it was just some whim of some, you know, ancient marketing guru, I don't know.
No matter who's gonna win this election, but one thing will make your hype high. Both Republicans and Democrats have famous faces to remunerate. Democrat Party holds their flag to enlighten history with Andrew Jackson, Jim Carter, John F. Kennedy, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and many more. On the other side, Republicans have a glorifying past with Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, George W. Bush-like names.
I don't really define remarkable candidates by party. And by that I have to say that for me, it's not the parties that generate something that is very distinctive in a candidate. They each generally have their particular approaches historically. They each have their particular views on economic, social issues, foreign policy.
Democrats today say donkey is smart, brave, while Republicans say elephant is strong and dignified. 45th president will not only have the votes of the people but also take the baton to take his party history further ahead. Tariq Adnan, Birmingham.
Now for the latest news with Christopher Mace.
Welcome to the Midnight News, on the hour every hour with me, Christopher Mace. Looking forward now, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton have both urged their voters on Twitter to keep voting for them. Particularly in Hillary's case, she's gone on to tell people to tell their friends to vote, phone around, get them moving. There's faith among both parties still that they can win. There has been a shooting in Azusa County, California. The local police have advised people to stay out of the area following the closure of a polling station, which we hope at the moment is temporary. We have heard, numbers are confirmed at the moment, we've heard that there are at least some injuries. The Economist has suggested that Hillary Clinton is very, very likely to win. They said, it seems unlikely either candidate will take the lion's share of uncommitted voters. That helps Hillary Clinton. They then went on to suggest that the chances of her winning were very, very high. Bob Carver from Birmingham City University suggests that British-based Democrat voters say they're quietly optimistic of a Clinton win. They say North Carolina is the state to watch, and the result for that should be coming through fairly soon. It's one of our key swing states. Sana Mahmood from Birmingham City University as well, from Birmingham East Side, says, from midnight, all eyes on Virginia, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina and Vermont. They're the ones to expect first. We're expecting those pretty imminently, but as of yet, at this moment, nothing has been confirmed. Birmingham East Side then confirmed that in half an hour's time, we're expecting a further 3, and those are North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. Back to Bob Carver, who's said that abroad, UK Deputy Chair Inga Kremtorp says they'll be watching Florida and Ohio keenly. Both of those are absolutely key swing states. Florida in particular, which has looked like flip-flopping between the two on a weekly basis. If we just we can look at this map here, which has come from the Financial Times. This is how the polls have swelled and fallen for each side, basically day to day. They have kept Hillary ahead in almost every day, but the polls have jumped around based on events. Wall Street investors in a buying mood, and US stocks will be broadly higher as the majority of traders have bet on Hillary Clinton winning. And remember, you can keep up to date with everything that's going on in the US election with Birmingham East Side, both on the website as a live feed and on Twitter. And don't forget, you can always go on there as well and decide who you think should win the 2016 US election. That's all from me for now. Back again at 1 a.m.
Thank you for joining me. I'll be back at 2 a.m. with further results from the US election. Of course, do go on to birminghameside.com or you can use the hashtag USVote16. See you at 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States.
That is why I am running for President of the United States.
And we are going to make our country great again. And we also need a cheerleader.
Now you see, this little bird doesn't know it. Oh my.
Please clap.